We'd have Teresa Knox, and then after that, Brian Loomis. Is Miss Knox here? Oh, go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for having us and hearing both sides of this argument. I think it's pretty clear which side I'm going to come down on. I would like to note I have a list of citations for everything I'm about to tell you right now. If anybody is interested in seeing that, I have that here with me.
And Miss, if you've got that, if you'd like to provide it to our one of the pages, we can make that part of our records. I'll send a page to grab that. And
Certainly.
Go ahead.
All right. Going to begin with 3 startling statistics. According to the Center for Disease Control, 25,692 people died from alcohol-related deaths in the United States in 2010 alone. There are 443,000 deaths every year in the United States as a result of tobacco use. But the Institute of Medicine reports that indeed, epidemiological data indicate that in the general population, marijuana use is not associated with increased mortality. Certainly, there are obvious and well-known dangers associated with the use of alcohol or tobacco. Yet it is the right of any citizen of legal age to consume either product. Since these dangers are known, a great deal of education and information is made available to ensure that people are making an informed decision to use one of these products. But the choice to use or not is left where it should lie, in the hands of the responsible adult making the decision. All we are asking is to enjoy the same right to choose as that granted to our fellow citizens who choose to use alcohol or tobacco without being labeled criminals, without having our choice for safer recreation threaten current employment or jeopardize the prospect of new employment, without fearing the loss of our homes, and without running the risk of losing our children for using a plant. When one broaches the subject of marijuana decriminalization or legalization, there are several myths that pop up in the ensuing conversation. Chief among them are the beliefs that smoking marijuana causes lung cancer and that using marijuana kills brain cells. Marijuana stimulates healthy brain cells and, in fact, does not kill cancer, but it does not cause cancer, but kills it. The biased studies done in the past that purport to prove the dangers of marijuana have been largely debunked. When modern medical science finds that marijuana is not only safer than alcohol and cigarettes, but also benefits the body and mind, it is time to change the way we view marijuana. Another major concern is if marijuana is legalized, the number of people that use it will dramatically increase, as will the number of children who use it. According to data compiled in November of 2012, 11 separate studies conducted in the United States concluded that decriminalization did not appear to increase the number of marijuana users, either minors or adults, and in fact it was noted that use seemed to decline in states where medical marijuana was legal. It was also noted that expenses for arrest and prosecution of marijuana possession were significantly reduced. As an example, in 2010 in California, there were 14,991 youth marijuana possession charges, while in 2011, there were 5,831. As far as felonies for those same years, in 2010 in California, there were 2,206. The following year, 1,952. From the study, the trend was led by a 47% decrease in drug offense arrests from 2010. The largest contributor to this decrease was a drop of 9,000 in youth's low-level marijuana
Ms. Knox,
possession
could you try to
arrests.
wrap up?
I'm
please?
sorry?
Could you just try to wrap up, please?
Certainly. One of the most common myths we hear is that marijuana is the gateway drug. The gateway is not a drug. The gateway is prohibition. It is the black market that puts marijuana in the hands of kids every day because unlike regulated purveyors of alcohol or tobacco, drug dealers do not check ID. They don't care if they're selling to a child. Regulating marijuana is the best way of keeping our kids off of it, while ensuring that responsible adults have the choice for safer medication, recreation, whatever. That wraps it up for me. I stand for questions.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there questions from the committee? Great. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, committee and members.
The record.
Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, we've got Brian Loomis and then Marianne King.
Chairman and committee members, I'm a little nervous because I haven't done this before, but I'm in front of you guys as a parent and as scout leader. And I want to share a recent experience that my son had with marijuana. November 6th, my son turned 18. November 5th, he finished his last requirements for his Eagle Scout project. And on December 21st, he was in the foothills, and he was smoking marijuana with some friends. And the 80 County Sheriff came up to the car that the kids were in, and he was one of the kids that was cited for marijuana possession. However, under the laws of the state of Idaho, the police had the opportunity or the ability to, instead of charging him with marijuana possession, charge him with possession of a synthetic controlled substance. Now, he has chosen as an adult to take this to trial. His trial, his pre-sentencing, is coming up February 28th. And this is something that is going to be on his record forever. Not his possession of marijuana, but his possession of a synthetic controlled substance. Now, I don't know whether, legalizing marijuana is the right thing. I don't know that medical marijuana is the best solution for everybody's problems. I believe it is for some. But I do know that in my heart I'm against this measure because I feel that it closes a door to work with existing legislation and the laws that we have to accurately charge people for the things that we're doing. And the other issue that I want to bring up is that in the state of Idaho, we don't have any expungement laws. In the state of California, there's a 3-year expungement on marijuana convictions. And my son is an Eagle Scout. He's expressed a desire to serve as an adult leader. And he may not pass a background check now. No, but 10 years from now, that'll still be on his record, and I would like to work to change that so that, things that kids do while they're still in high school, even though they're 18, don't have to affect them their whole life. That concludes my remarks.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Chairman Brian.
Oh, Mr. Loomis, could you respond to a question from Senator Davis?
Yes.
Brian, you are not the first or the last father that will have the heartache that you have described to this committee, myself included. Your comments to me individually on the need to find a path forward on expungement rings true. It is my hope that the legislature will even address that concept this year. I want you to know that members of the court and the Prosecuting Attorneys Association have been trying to find a possible statutory fix so that you and your family and your son can have confidence in a very bright future. Okay?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. We've got Marianne King and then Jewel Mapes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity this morning. I'm Marianne King. I'm the director of Drug Free Idaho. We're a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to creating drug-free workplaces, schools, and communities. Imagine a workplace where employees show up to work high on marijuana and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the concern we hear from Idaho employers who are worried that that will be the case if marijuana is legalized in our state. In the last year, Drug-Free Idaho has seen an increasing number of positive workplace drug test results. Businesses of all shapes and sizes and all variations across our state, from the mom-and-pop convenience stores to the corporate offices, from daycare centers to assisted living homes, property management firms to trucking fleets, all have been dealing with increased availability, increased acceptability, and increased use of marijuana in their workplaces. And they tell us their businesses are suffering. This is what we know. First, 1 out of every 12 employees and 1 out of every 5 employees between the ages of 18 and 25 use some illicit drug at least once a month. That younger age group, those just starting off in our workforce, have by far the greatest prevalence of use. And marijuana, more than not, is their drug of choice. Many employers will tell us that they have abandoned efforts to maintain drug-free workplace programs because finding someone who can pass a pre-employment drug test is just getting harder and harder. Some say near impossible. That their pool of qualified applicants is shrinking. Second, we know that marijuana use alters perception, creates time distortion, and can cause drowsiness and lethargy. All of that impacts skills in the workplace, especially those complex skills, and they are creating difficulties for our employers. The effects are costly to both the employer and to our community. Problems most frequently reported in the workplace are associated with marijuana use are increased use of health services and insurance benefits, greater absenteeism, more frequent job turnover, increased accident risk, and decrease in productivity. Health and Human Services tells us that workplace drug abuse costs our country between $60 and $100 billion a year annually. OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, tells us that 47% of industrial accidents can be linked to drug or alcohol use in the workplace. As consumers, we're all paying for that. We pay for the lost productivity and job-related accidents in the final cost of produced goods and in higher insurance premiums. Drug-using employees simply are not as safe. They are 3.6 times more likely to be involved in work-related accidents than their non-using coworkers, and 5 times more likely to file workers' comp claims, a cost that many of our small business owners especially cannot bear. Finally, marijuana use in the workplace becomes a very real bottom-line issue for our employers. Idaho employers would potentially lose millions in valuable federal contracts and grants because they would be unable to comply with federal laws requiring grantees and contractors to comply with specific requirements to establish drug-free workplace programs. While the studies vary somewhat, it's clear we have a substantial substance abuse issue in the workplace, and it has powerfully negative impact on our health, safety, productivity, and bottom line. Legalizing marijuana will only magnify these problems. Now, imagine a workplace where employees show up clean, sober, and ready to work. Imagine that potential. Thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you very much. Jewel Mapes.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, excuse me.
may I ask just...
Oh, yeah, please.
Thank you
Would you
very
yield
much.
to a question? No, go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your testimony. I was a little confused about a couple of things you said, and I just wanted to make sure that I understand. You were indicating that if marijuana was legalized, that if a worker showed up high to work on marijuana, that you couldn't do anything about it. And right away I thought about workers showing up at work, an illegal substance now, alcohol, so they're drunk when they show up at work. My sense is that workplaces can limit these kinds of legal substances currently, so I failed to see the connection, and I was hoping you could help me to understand what you were trying to say, because maybe I misunderstood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Work. What we are seeing in our neighboring states is an increase of litigation, that when employers do step forward to implement and maintain their established drug-free workplace programs, it is costing them great time, effort, energy, and resources in litigation because employees are fighting that. They're saying that marijuana falls into a different, separate category. And we have seen this time and time again with employers being taken to court when they are trying to uphold drug-free workplace programs.
Just quickly, are they prevailing in court?
It's unknown, Senator. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chairman and Senator. It's new territory. We're in uncharted territory, especially when it comes to employee and employer rights. And I do believe that we have a speaker coming up who can talk a little more specifically about that. We don't have all the data yet, but what we know is it is putting some folks out of business, and their sense is we can't afford to fight this fight, so we'll just let it go.
And Mr. Chairman, just one other question, and thank you very much. Ma'am, you had indicated that that employers are having a hard time finding people that can pass pre-employment drug tests.
Correct.
And I know that you got into kind of a broader category of drugs here, and I know that we tried to restrain others to talk about marijuana only. But with drugs being illegal, I'm trying to figure out how that is salient to what we have in front of us, since what we're already doing seems to be resulting, even when drugs are illegal, in all of these failed tests, pre-employment tests. So I'm trying to find the point that might be made there.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, for example, last week we had 5 pre-employment drug tests returned to our office, all positive for marijuana. And that was my point, is we are seeing an increase in folks that are not being able to pass that initial drug test to get gainful employment. With a large percentage of our high school seniors saying that they use on a regular basis, that renders them virtually unemployable in a lot of our major employers in the state, and a lot of small businesses as well.
Mr. Chairman, and that's because marijuana is currently illegal, so they test positive for the illegal drug. Is that correct?
Chairman, Senator, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Great,
Chairman.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.